What is Chiliasm? Well, originally it was, or is, a Jewish heresy that has become ingrained into Christianity. Originally it was a prophecy regarding the end times. However, as Judaism is for Jews only, by maternal bloodline, we can say that the prophecy was for Jews only, and only concerned the ancient Israelite world of the time. That prophecy came true in 70 AD, when the Romans destroyed the temple in Jerusalem and destroyed the genealogy records. And that should have been the end of the subject about that particular prophecy. But as we see, it is reinfecting the dying body of Christianity, much like HIV. It is now being propagated by the likes of zionist, apostate, I call them, you say Christians, I spell them with an X for their Christianity. I can't call these people Christian because there's nothing remotely Christian about them. So, zionist apostate Christians, with an X, I call them Zaks. And they are the ones who are propagating this. A pre-tribulation rapture, so to speak. They propagated as well as nutjob cults, who are all headed by some loon or nutjob who thinks he's Jesus, and the followers of these cults regard that person as Jesus coming back. At least for the time being. It is, also in the interests of the state of Israel and Jewish Zionists in general to ensure this propagation for political and financial ends. There is no actual religious factor into this, as Zionism is in fact an atheist creed. So, either by stupidity, gullibility, or just plain corruption, the Zaks have adopted this expired Jewish heresy and seek to make it a current viable prophecy in Christianity. They propagate the idea that it is the purpose of Christians to serve the state of Israel, to serve Zionism, and to serve Jews, Jew worship. Zaks seek to redefine Christianity from a faith that believes in Jesus Christ into one that serves Jews, Zionists, and Israel. You could really say it's a type of unholy trinity, really. Despite the fact that these three entities are largely atheist, and any spiritual aspect in them is pantheist. Modern Judaism cannot be said to be an Abrahamic faith. Not anymore. Modern Judaism is, full of people who are not descendants of Abraham, Moses, or even their tribes, or even those of ancient Israel. Today's Jews are in fact descendants of converts such as the Ashkenazim, who are descendants of Georgian and Chechen converts. The same applies to Sephardim, who are descendants of Iberian and North African Berber converts. You also have various sub-Saharan Africans claiming to be Jews, as well as the Cochini Jews, who are in fact just ethnic Indians who converted to Judaism. There's even Chinese claiming to be descendants of Moses. The reason these people say these things is because, they're not actually Semitic. They're just grubs and parasites who are just looking for easy money, a free trip to Israel, and an Israeli passport, which they can use to springboard into Europe. Now, the only Jews who have some claim to Israel are the Falashas and Musawis. The Falashas are Ethiopian Jews who have a minuscule claim due to be descendants of the kingdom of the Queen of Sheba. But the line of descendants is so remote it no longer counts. The Musawi, on the other hand, are indeed recognised as having a right to live in Israel, but only by the Palestine Liberation Organisation Charter of 1967. They recognises them as Palestinians of the Judaist faith. However, neither the Jewish State of Israel nor Zaks recognises them as ethnic Arabs who practice the Judaist faith, but indeed has deemed them to be Sephardic Jews, even though there is no bloodline connection. To claim that Sephardic Jews and Musawis are the same people as the same as saying Spanish and Italians are the same people because they look kind of similar. They use the same alphabet. That's how it's claimed to be, but they're not the same people. As bigoted as this is, the Zaks will claim that it is a holy duty of all Christians to believe this because the Jews said so, despite the fact they are not descendants of ancient Israelites or even believe in God. And if they do, it's not the same God everyone else believes in. So, let us examine two key figures in Zach's Chiliasm. As we see today, at this point, I want to give credit to Brother Nathanael, whose YouTube clips about Zionist Christians are certainly worth watching. And the two figures that were key to the foundation of Zionist apostate Christianity were John Nelson Darby and Cyrus Schofield. Their inane and opportunistic rantings are the backbone of Zionism, which is probably a more correct term to call Christian Zionism. They are the backbone of Zionism today, which is now being peddled by John Hagee. So let's bring up John Nelson Darby. Now, this guy started off in the Church of Ireland, but later left to become involved in the Plymouth Brethren. And from there he founded the Exclusive Brethren. His spin was his personal take on the dispensationalism and futurism, which is now held as the rapture. But pre-tribulation rapture theology was what he peddled with the Plymouth Brethren. His crankery increased with the invention of the telegraph, which he saw as an invention of Cain, yes, like Abel and Cain, and a harbinger of Armageddon, and a definite sign that the end of the world was coming. I recommend the Wikipedia page about John Nelson Darby. That says a lot about him, and it's quite honest, and you'll see, this guy was basically a narcissistic crackpot who, I think it's beyond words to try and describe it, certainly not in this clip, and this guy, he had the idea that the Old Testament was more important than the New Testament, and yet he called himself a Christian of some sort. And if you look at the Exclusive Brethren cult, which exists in Australia, New Zealand and the United Kingdom, and the way they behave, they're very isolationist, and I believe everyone apart from them is going to hell, and it runs along a parallel line to what we see happening with so-called Jews today. Same sort of attitude. I think at best you could describe Exclusive Brethren as a personality cult based around John Darby, and not Christian at all. So, join me in the next clip.